Welcome to the BC City Connection. I'm Richard Piet. This is our program from the city of Battle Creek, a podcast. It's also on the city YouTube channel, and maybe you're watching us here on AccessVision as well. In fact, this is a special show. We're here in the AccessVision Studios today, which is a little different from the norm, and we're happy to do that. It's an occasion because we're meeting Amanda Zimmerlin, the new city manager in Battle Creek. Hello, Amanda.
Hello.
So you came not from too far away, right?
Correct.
Just in Ohio, but it's only been a couple of weeks since you've been here. I imagine this has been a little overwhelming as you're getting situated.
It's actually been very nice. Everybody who I've met has been very welcoming. I've been very thankful for that. The community is beautiful. I'm starting to learn it. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, it's taken us a little while to get here, so I think we're happy to have you here as well. Talk about what appealed to you about this town, this position, as you thought about the next step in your career.
You know, this town in particular, my husband and I would vacation in Michigan, and we would come through Battle Creek.
Sure.
And we like the area. We like it very much. And when this opportunity came up, I looked at it as an opportunity. One, we could be somewhere we wanted to be. And two, it was a career growth opportunity for me. And I think that the skill set that I have will be beneficial for the city and we'll be able to move forward.
Yeah, you talk about career growth. So let's just look at a couple of numbers here. You came from Clayton, Ohio.
Yes.
Population there, 13,000. Springdale, Ohio, before that, 11,000.
Yes.
Battle Creek, about 50,000.
Yes.
So there is a progression, and this is pretty typical, isn't it, for folks who are looking at municipal careers like yours?
It is. It is. That is typically the goal, is to continue to build skills and to be able to service larger cities, or at least that's definitely been my goal. For Springdale in particular, you know, we had a residential population of 11,000, but our daytime population was over 50. We had a lot of business in that area.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how does that affect how you look at the health of the city? You say, okay, we have a terrific influx of population in the daytime, employees, right? Is that difficult to capitalize on?
It's really not. You know, for lack of a word, it's our bread and butter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these are the people who are coming in every day to work. They may not live in our community, but they were definitely paying taxes. They definitely had a voice in things that we were doing. But I know that our residents really liked the services that we were able to provide with that influx of population during the day.
Sure. So when you looked at Battle Creek and the surrounding areas, what stood out to you?
One of the things that stood out to me, if we talk about Springdale situation where we had the influx of population during the day, is that Battle Creek has that as well. That, you know, people come here and work and then they go live somewhere else. And you know, one of the goals, at least in my opinion, would be to have those people come here and work and want to be here and want to live here and want to stay here. To make it a place where people want to, for lack of a better term, live, work, and play, right?
Sure.
They want to be here.
So what are some of the characteristics that make people want to do that?
That's
Not
a very
commute,
good question.
But
right,
live
but live here, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, it is some of those community-oriented events, tangible things like our parks, you know, investing in just community and placemaking.
Yeah, one of the things that I continuously hear, and it has continued on even now, is the notion of housing. So can't live somewhere if there's not enough property to look at and to live in. So this is a continuing challenge. I'm sure you saw this as you examined this area. Talk about your thoughts on that. There seems to be some urgency about it.
I agree. So one thing that I was very impressed with the city of Battle Creek, one is that they've already recognized, or the city already recognized, that this is a challenge that we have. And they're already putting into place plans to remedy that, to be able to build those foundations so families can move here.
Yeah, and what do you think the remedies are? I mean, you can't just, you know, call somebody up and say, can you build a few houses today?
Yeah.
Get that done quickly. There's more to it than that.
Absolutely there is. And, you know, the path that we've been looking at in the 3 weeks that I've been here has really been a community and private partnership with different developers to build some of that housing that needs to be put here in the city. And then hopefully that can evolve into other markets and be able to provide other types of housing, not just low income.
Does the city manager, in your mind, involve themselves in this this maybe sales process that happens to get builders to move forward.
Absolutely it does. But one thing I will say, here in the city of Battle Creek, we have a very good development team. I've been very impressed in the 3 weeks that I've been here with Marcy and her team. So I think that they're quite capable of making the sales pitch for Battle Creek on their own, but absolutely, I think that not only the city manager, but also the city council, our city commission plays a very large role in making those things happen.
Did you see these kinds of challenges in Ohio with housing?
We do. We had some challenges with the housing. Whenever I left Clayton, we were beginning to see that upswing in housing. We hadn't had development in about 20 years. And, from about 2021 to 25 here, when I left Clayton, we had put in an additional 200 homes, and we were working on several other projects that were building out. So yes, we had that issue in Ohio as well, where housing, it's needed and it wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a recent meeting of the minds, you might say, about housing in Battle Creek, and some of the voices that came out of that were folks who have trouble with affordability.
Absolutely.
This is a huge challenge, isn't it? Because some of the solution is involved in the market segment that is ready to rent or ready to buy, and those who find that more challenging are a different part of the equation.
Sure.
Characterize that a little bit and maybe give us some impressions of what you think the solutions are.
Oh, that's a thick one. I think that barriers to housing, it's not unique to Battle Creek. It's not. There are people everywhere who have challenges in finding housing and eventually may become unhoused. I think that the continued concerted effort between the city and our nonprofits in the area will help to build, again, that foundation so people can find housing, and that we'll be able to accommodate those. But not only that, like I said, we're not just focusing just on that type of housing. There is a need for other housing as well. And I think that, once we have this baseline handled, that we'll be able to build and provide other options.
Mm-hmm. Some of it, too, you talked about parks and other things. Evidently, we were really excited to get an Olive Garden.
Who's not?
Yeah, so, these kinds of things are part of the equation, too, to make an area attractive.
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah. And so attracting those kinds of businesses, there's sort of a chicken and egg kind of thing going on, isn't there? You're trying to build an attractive place for folks to live and eat and shop and all of these things, but then those entities have to feel like there's a growth pattern going on.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right.
Yeah, there's some kind of recipe there, right?
There is. There absolutely is. And I'm telling you, the first city manager who pins down the exact recipe is going to make a lot of money. But it is, you're right, it's a chicken and the egg, right? Do we have the population base to have these restaurants, these businesses want to come in, or do these businesses come in hoping that population is going to be there? And I think for Battle Creek right now, with the Texas Roadhouse and the Olive Garden going into that space, we have a population base that wants those services and amenities in our surrounding townships and our cities as well. So they were, amenable to coming in and building, and hopefully success begets success, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So our fingers are crossed.
Yes.
And other initiatives are being worked on.
They are. I know the city, we're currently working on the LDDA and possibly doing some TIF capture there to be able to do some infrastructure projects and help that Beckley corridor. Right.
Yeah, this is a discussion we've had a few times about Beckley and the notion that we don't need as much parking lot space and things of that nature, and maybe some more housing options.
Yeah.
There we are again with the housing discussion, right? But along that corridor might be helpful for those folks who might want to just walk to
there.
Where they want to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, interesting.
It's always interesting, I'm sorry, to see that shift in just planning patterns.
Yes.
What people desired at one time is no longer desirable, and you make a shift to something new.
Sure, and that was part of the discussion, I think, was, the Beckley Road framework is, 40 years old or something. So now we look at it through a different lens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the other things that we've heard sometimes about Battle Creek is a perception that it's difficult to get things done if government is involved. And there's been a concerted effort, I think, to change that. But you've probably heard these kinds of things before.
Sure.
Is there a way to help move those things along?
I think communication is key. If you're a business owner and you need permitting, just call the offices. I mean, there are people there who their job is to help you, right? Our job as government, and I know people never like, we're the government, we're here to help, right?
Right, heard that.
But, our job is to help our local community. That's what we're here for. And, I think when people are running up against those barriers, if they're talking about permitting or anything like that, just call.
When you looked at downtown Battle Creek, for example, we have some opportunities there.
We do.
But I also think there seems to be a momentum and an energy that's a positive energy that's been growing, and it's been different. Did that impact you as you looked around?
It did. So one of the things, like the small business development group that we have here has made a big push to be able to have events downtown. And while I'm very new here, I'm excited for Glizzy Fest. Events like that, those are things that a lot of communities don't have, that bring people into their downtown to have them come in and want to bring that foot traffic here.
And there seems to be, talk about recipes, there seems to be a casserole we're cooking here that is similar to what we talked about with Beckley Road, right? The downtowns typically have had a transient kind of presence. Folks come in and work, maybe have lunch, leave.
Yes.
But there seems to be just an overall notion that folks want to live in these areas more, and we've been trying to adjust that, and that's not uncommon. Right?
No, it's not uncommon. I know that my generation, my age group, we want to come back to downtown. Our parents moved out to the suburbs. They wanted that space. We're here like, well, we want to be downtown. We want to be able to walk to the store, walk to dinner, go have drinks, and then go home.
Yeah, and maybe not have to go all that far to do it.
Exactly, not go that far to do it.
Yeah. Are we moving enough in that direction, do you think?
I think there's always room for improvement. I do, but I think that that's something that you just continuously build on. Like I said, success begets success. You start having those little successes and other people want to be there.
Yeah, we also have a perception that there's, I'm going to put this in quotes, nothing to do, right? and you hear that almost anywhere you go. But that's a perception thing,
Sure
isn't
it is. It is.
How do we change that?
I think the way that we would change perception that there's nothing to do here in town, again, is communication.
Yeah.
Talk shows like this.
Yeah.
Our comms department being able to push information out, and then just word of mouth. People getting out and actually doing things and then telling their friends, hey, you know what? We were down here for this event, and then we went to New Holland, and then we went out and just walked around.
Yeah.
So it's a good way.
Yeah. So the testimonial is important.
The testimonial is very important.
Yeah. And if you think there's nothing to do, maybe look again.
Yes.
Because
sometimes we're our own worst enemy, right?
Well, I get a list of things that are happening, and it's a pretty lengthy list.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to point out. I was also chatting with the folks who produced the Downtown Battle Creek zine, and their events list is pretty long.
Yeah.
And so there's more there than maybe folks understand. So it was interesting. I was having conversations with the mayor and the vice mayor who were spearheading this search for the city manager candidates. And at one point, and it was challenging. So I guess the first thought is, did you see that out there that municipalities were struggling to find candidates? First of all, in your searches.
Yes. Every job is hard, right? Everybody has challenges. But city manager can be a difficult position to fill. I mean, you take a lot of heat, right? Everybody says stuff rolls downhill. It comes up. It does. It absolutely comes up. And when things don't go well, guess who's out there talking about why things didn't go well?
Yeah.
And, so sometimes it's hard. But I think that, the pool that I was in for candidates, I was impressed with the other candidates. I thought, any one of us would have done well.
Mm-hmm. One of the interesting things the mayor said during one of our discussions about the search was in the last round of candidates, of which you were one, he said, there's one candidate who's already been here twice. Turns out that was you.
Yeah.
So talk about when you're trying to make up your mind, what do you feel you have to do to really be comfortable?
Sure. I needed to make sure the community was a right fit for me as well. I enjoyed coming up, driving around, taking a look at things that were going on. Ted Deering, the assistant city manager who was the interim, was phenomenal. Anytime I would call, Ted would pick up the phone. Ted was happy to provide me with information if I had questions about things. We came up the first time, we'd driven by multiple times, but the first time we came into the city and actually drove around was during the 4th of July weekend.
Oh, sure.
And seeing
Big
the events,
weekend.
exactly, seeing the events that were going on in town then, and I'm like, this is the kind of place I want to be. This is where, I want to bring my family. This is where we need to be.
Yeah, the opportunity to see it then was a
Yeah.
good one with the
It
field of flight,
definitely
all those
sold the
things.
community, that's for sure.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so when you said it has to be the right fit, what did that mean to you maybe before you saw
Sure.
us on the 4th?
When I talk about being the right fit, do I think I could help, right? Are there challenges there that I think that I could help with? Because if there were things here that I knew were either so far out of the realms of things that I have ever dealt with before, I couldn't be of benefit to the people here, and there'd be no point in me coming. Nobody wants to pay me for not doing a job, right? So, that was one of the factors. The other, watching the commission meetings and seeing how the commission interacted with each other and how the commission interacts with the public. And I was very impressed how, well-behaved everyone was, right? We don't always have to agree, but everyone is very cordial and agreeable and, deals with things appropriately. And then looking at how the commission interacted with staff in those meetings as well. I was impressed with how staff would get up, give their presentations, the commission would ask, good questions and then move forward. And I appreciate that. It's those types of things that make a city manager go, hey, this is a good place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that you said that, because I seem to recall a conversation with your predecessor about the dynamic that happens. And as she was retiring, I think I might have asked, what do you say to somebody who might be saying, that might be an interesting place for me? And one of the things she said was, do your homework.
Yes.
And is it as simple as visiting, but also, Googling and see what you see?
It is. It is. And it's always helpful, if you do know someone in the community, to give them a call and see, what their perception is. And whenever I was going through the process, and I called Ted and I asked him directly, what is the perception? He said it's a great place. For him, it's a great place. So.
That's helpful too,
Yes.
to ask someone who's been here a long time.
Yes.
Ted's an example of that, and has an impression that has some institutional memory
Yes.
to it. Yeah. You talked about challenges, the notion that you wanted to be comfortable. Is it a right fit? Are the challenges something I think I can work with? What are the challenges? What do you think is maybe at the top of that list?
Sure. Well, like most places, it's housing and economic development, right?
Yeah.
Those are the two big things. I think any city that you walk into, those are the two that usually bubble up to the top, is being able to house people and being able to have markets that people want to shop at and to go into. And, now that I'm in this position and I'm looking at the things that the city is doing, I think that we're able to tackle those.
Yeah. What makes you confident about that?
One, my own ability. I do have experience in this field, but two is the team that's built here in the city. I don't know if people realize what a fantastic team is here and the number of people who every day come to work for the community at large and to try to build these things to make this a better place.
Mm-hmm. Do you think people have a hard time seeing the glass as half full sometimes?
Sometimes.
You're just sort of telling us that.
Yeah.
Look at the glass and
Yes.
how full it is.
Yes. Look at what we have going for us.
Yeah. So if you look back at Clayton, what was the biggest challenge you dealt with there?
Housing.
Yeah. No. We haven't talked about that yet.
No, it really was. And there were some different dynamics down in Clayton than there are here about people who want housing, people who don't want housing, but housing was definitely needed. So there were those challenges. And then we also had some economic development challenges. And the challenge there was our storefronts were basically full. We had no place to put other people and other businesses. So it's a good problem to have,
Yes.
right? But it was a problem. It was. So, just like here, we had those challenges.
Yeah. How did you solve that?
So with the housing, we had basically a master plan that we had developed, and then we started actually implementing that master plan, started aligning our zoning code with that plan. So when developers were coming in and saying, hey, we want to build housing, we're like, here you go. Here's the space that you can build this housing. This is a good spot. This is where the community said that we want these things.
Yeah, that master plan is an input device that comes around every 5 years or so.
Yes.
You get a chance to offer input, and so you really do try to gather that.
You do.
And how do you interpret it when there's different voices? You just talked about some people who were concerned about housing, some people who weren't. How do you sort that out? It's like looking at Google reviews. I just love that because you got a bunch who hate it and a bunch who love it, and then you're supposed to average that out somehow.
And decide whether or not you want to go there. Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And that's basically, what you do. You average it out and you decide if this is really the right fit for what's going on.
Yeah, tough
and
decisions.
it is. And in my position, one of the big factors in that is, what does my commission want to do? What direction does the commission want to take this? If we are looking at our plan and the plan says this and we have somebody lined up, is the commission and the planning commission on board with that project?
When you think about economic development, as you said, it's up there with housing.
Yep.
Do you look at the region too? I'm thinking about the Ford plant that's going up in Marshall. This is not the city of Battle Creek, but there's ripple effects that are likely to be felt right through here, right?
Yes.
So when you looked at that, did that help influence your decision?
It did. I mean, when you look at something as large as that Ford plant, it's going to have an impact on every surrounding community. It's not just going to be housed there. The people who work there are going to need places to live. They're going to want to come here to shop. It absolutely does have that ripple effect.
Yeah, and if you were looking at the region and trying to make a decision about whether it's the right fit for you, this kind of investment speaks on a certain level, doesn't it, about the viability of the region?
It absolutely does. Not only that, I mean, when you look at Battle Creek proper and you look at our industrial park that we have, Fort Custer, that's a fantastic place. It's great. I mean, it's lots of businesses, it's healthy, it's robust, and then you have things like the Blue Oval that want to come into this region. This is a place people and businesses want to be.
You talked about having saw the commission interact and saw cohesiveness there. Have you ever dealt with a body that wasn't cohesive? And you're along for that ride as a city manager.
Absolutely. Sometimes that's an adventure.
Yeah.
I always find it helpful, even if the commissioners don't agree with a policy or something that's going on, a phone call before a meeting, just so I know what's coming down the pike. But sometimes you're at the mercy of, what your commission decides they're going to do, and they have no obligation to tell you what's going to come down the pike if they decide that they don't want to vote for something.
And you're working for them in a sense.
Yes, absolutely.
But do you think the city manager has a role in trying to inspire working together?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is one of the fundamental roles of this position, is making sure that people can work together so we can get projects completed. It doesn't always work, but it absolutely is one of the positions of this role.
It's interesting because maybe not many of us would say, hey, boss, let me help you sort this out and help you play nice.
Yes.
This doesn't happen in many positions. It's a little tricky, isn't it?
It is. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's a little tricky. But hopefully, as we go along, I can build relationships with commissioners that, if I pick up the phone, it's not going to be an issue. If I say, hey, here's the other perspective. Can we at least talk about this?
Yeah. Well, I want to give you a chance in our final few minutes to talk a little bit about yourself. You said you vacationed in Michigan, you and your family.
Yes.
Where did you like to go?
So we really enjoyed Grand Rapids. My husband and I, we leave the kids at home when we did that. We would just come up to Amway, spend a weekend, and have a nice weekend there. And we would come through, past Battle Creek every time we would come up. And so when the opportunity came to say, we could come to Michigan and be here, we're like, let's go.
Yeah. What appealed to you about the state?
It's beautiful.
Well, there's that.
It is. It is absolutely beautiful. It really is. And, and the more time that we spend here, the more I've discovered that the people here are just as nice as people in Ohio.
There is a little rivalry, I
A
hear.
little bit, a
Yeah,
little bit. I was a
probably
little
heard that.
hesitant to put my Buckeye on my desk, but
There were probably a few Buckeyes that said, "You're going where?"
yeah, I was like, why? No.
Yeah, I probably would imagine that would happen if the situation were
Sure,
reversed. There'd be a
sure.
few people in Ohio.
Like Ohio,
Yes, yeah.
It's really not that bad. We're okay.
You
We're
grew
all
up
right.
in Ohio,
I
did you?
did. I grew up in Southwest Ohio. I am a University of Dayton grad. I graduated with my bachelor's and my master's from UD. So I'm a flyer.
Okay.
So I spent my entire adult life there in that little corner of the world, working in the Cincinnati market and then the Dayton market, and now we're here.
Yeah, I did not mention that Clayton is essentially a suburb of Dayton.
It is. Clayton's
Yeah.
a suburb of Dayton, and
Yeah.
Springdale and Madera are suburbs of Cincinnati.
Yeah, you talked about the transient employee population shifts
Yeah.
in Clayton. How is that, from a management standpoint, challenging or different or similar to a sizable city like Battle Creek at 50,000?
Sure. That's a good question. So with Springdale and that influx of population during the day, one of the interesting things, we had a residential population of 11,000, but like our police department was much larger than a normal city of 11,000 people because we had all of the retail, right? We had that influx of people who would come in during the day,
Yeah.
necessitating, just more on staff. Same with our fire department. We had higher run calls than normal cities with 11,000 people because of just the influx in population. But for Battle Creek, we're just level set. We're at that 52,000 mark. We're going to try to build on that. But that's, where we are. And the fact that, we run out of 6 stations here. In Springdale, it was 1 station. We only had 1
Yeah.
because we're a city of
little
11,000.
different.
It is. It's a little different, but a lot the same.
You talk about fire stations. We're in the middle of upgrading
Yes.
them, and some of that has been a little bit nerve-wracking for
Sure.
some folks, historic buildings and that sort of thing. On the other hand, we're talking about a sizable capital investment that maybe a city manager encounters a few times in their career.
Sure.
And those are milestone moments, aren't they? Those are big challenges.
They absolutely are big challenges, but I think that you can look at it as look at the investment that the community wants to make in itself when you do projects like that. You go, our community needs these services. We are going to take the funds and reinvest to be able to provide those services to make sure that our firefighters have the safest, best space to work from.
Yeah, some of these buildings in which they're working now have been long outdated.
Yes.
It's just one of these situations where residents sometimes don't want to hear we have to spend millions of dollars on new fire departments. How do you make people comfortable with that?
It's messaging, right?
Yeah.
Being able to get out in front of that and to start laying that groundwork for people and saying, hey, this is why we need these community improvements. We need a space for our public servants to be able to work, to provide better service to you. When we're looking at places that possibly have, mold or whatever, things that aren't safe
Sure.
for people to work in. And I think that, also having commission buy-in, having people on the commission also go out and tell people, hey, this is why we need to do this. This is why we need to have these facilities upgraded.
All right, well, our time is fleeting quickly, but I would ask, what would you say to residents of Battle Creek and the region as they're getting to know you, and if there's a statement or a tone you want to set, what would you say?
I think that just being open. One of the things that I do pride myself on is being open and being transparent and trying to make sure that I at least push the information out to people. Whether or not people digest the information is a different thing, but to at least make sure that everyone has the same information. So everyone can at least form their own opinions and we can try to move forward.
Has it been typical for you to engage with the community on some regular level?
Yes.
Yeah.
So in my previous life down in Ohio and here, I've been trying to do my best to get out to community events, to be part of the community, to visit different places, to be able to build a relationship with our nonprofit groups. Being actually ingrained in the community is very important to me.
Well, I imagine then many of us will see you around.
You will.
And we'll look forward to that, and I'm sure we'll have more conversation.
Absolutely.
Amanda Zimmerlin is the new city manager in Battle Creek. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Battle Creek is part of this program, BC City Connection. If you're listening as a podcast, just type it in where you get podcasts and subscribe, and you'll be alerted when these come along. You may be watching us on AccessVision or finding us on the YouTube channel for Battle Creek. Subscribe there if you wish to as well. I'm Richard Piet. Take care.